In this video, we're going to explore a schema that often gets a lot of pushback from people when we talk about it being present in their personality system, mainly because there's such a negative connotation that's attached to being identified as someone like this. When this schema is active, it generally has us pushing back against having to do the things that we don't want to do, or feeling like somebody else should do these things for us. So today, let's talk about the schema of entitlement. When the schema of entitlement is activated in our personality system, we often have this belief that we are superior to other people, or maybe we're entitled to special rights and privileges, and we're definitely not bound by the rules of normal social interaction. This often involves an insistence that we should be able to do or have whatever it is that we want at this particular point in time. When dominant, this belief is rigidly in place regardless of what's realistic, what other people might consider to be reasonable, or what the cost might be to those involved, either financially, emotionally, or psychologically. In its extreme, there can also be an exaggerated focus on superiority. For example, being among the most successful, the most famous, or the wealthiest person within our social network. Predominantly, this is done to achieve feelings that revolve around some sort of power or control. The entitlement, or what's sometimes called the grandiosity schema, can also include excessive competitiveness towards other people, with a focus on their domination. Remember, this is usually, but not always, developed as an extreme protection mechanism for the vulnerability underneath the surface, and it's often created as a polar opposite to the true feelings of self. So listen, while working my own recovery lifestyle and living the life I wanted to live, I had to build an understanding for the many different parts of my personality. During this process, I came across a part that had a general sense of entitlement. To my surprise, this part was something that was present in my system on a regular basis. At first, this was a really difficult thing for me to acknowledge, as there's generally a pretty negative connotation that gets attached to the word entitlement in society. Once I was able to overcome my own internal judgments about the word itself, I was actually able to see that there was definitely a part of my personality that fell into this way of being whenever certain stories were activated in my system and I was feeling challenged. First, I was confronted by a part of my personality that was spoiled. When I was blended with this part, I became demanding and controlling. I wanted everything my own way, and when other people didn't give me what it was that I wanted, I usually flipped into some kind of an angry child mode that would usually result in me basically having an adult version of a temper tantrum. Next, there was a part of me that was struggling with an entitlement that revolved around dependency on others to fix my problems, which when blended had me entitled to the support of others in a particular way. I placed myself in a weak, incompetent, or even a needy role inside of my relationships, and then simply expect other people to step in and take care of me so that I could feel loved and cared for in a way that was meeting my unmet childhood needs. Finally, I was confronted by a part of me that was entitled to my own impulsive coping mechanisms, those things that were tied into my own problem with instant gratification. This was a deeply ingrained pattern of behaviour that had been around for an extremely long time. When blended, I had a lot of difficulty controlling my behaviours and my feelings. My impulse control was almost non-existent, and I would regularly act out on my desires without any regard for the consequences of my actions. I had trouble tolerating any sense of frustration in my system when I couldn't do the things that I was expected to do, which would usually result in me flipping into my angry child mode again in an attempt to control the out of control emotional state that I was currently finding myself embedded in. Accepting that these were parts of my personality was the first step that I had to take in changing the narrative that was triggering their presence in my system. I had to step into my fear of not getting what I wanted, my fear of not being rescued every time I felt that someone should rescue me, and my fear of not being able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. In order to work with this schema, I had to build my awareness for and then step into my fear of not getting what I wanted, my fear of not being rescued every time that I felt someone should rescue me, and definitely my fear of not being able to do what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it. In the PDF at the bottom of the website page that's connected to this video, you're going to find a worksheet that's intended to support you in deciding whether the schema of entitlement is something that might be active in your own personality system. Take some time to download it and work through the questions to build awareness for the stories that you might have that are connected to this particular schema. And if you've got an opinion on this, or actually anything to do with the integration of DBT and schema therapy, please leave a comment in the chat below. I'd really love to hear your point of view. If you want to know more, come join the live online meetings that I facilitate each week for free on Zoom. I'll leave some links to those groups in the description below. And as always, if you like the content of this video, please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button, and turn on all those notifications to get the latest from me and the Liberation Place. I hope this video gave you some insight for how the schema of entitlement might be something that's influencing the way that you see the world. Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Take care, be safe, and be well.